How fast can you spot a narcissist? If you get this wrong, it can cost you years of emotional abuse, obliterate your self-worth, and leave you with devastating financial issues. I know this because it's happened to me. And today, I'm going to share a real-life example where I failed to spot 5 major red flags that were obvious within the first hour. Because here's the deal. Narcissists don't change. They show up right away. You just have to know what to look for. So in this video, I'll show you how to quickly identify the narcissist in the room, show you why you usually miss them, and the 5 vital clues to look for so that you never fall into their trap again. Picture this. You're at a family holiday gathering, meeting your partner's relatives for the very first time. It's a mix of excitement and anxiety, and you really want to make a good impression. You enter the room to find dozens of family members spanning several generations. The question is, which one of them is the narcissist? Okay, pause. You might already be saying, Meadow, well, that's awfully pessimistic. Why would you even imagine that? I don't want to go around labeling people. And that's exactly what I used to believe as well. But that type of thinking, even though it might sound compassionate and virtuous, is a type of willful denial that kept landing me in harmful situations. Because here's the truth. You might not want to be on the lookout for the narcissist, but they are absolutely on the lookout for you. Research shows about 2 to 6% of the population is diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. Largely because a key criterion for the diagnosis is self-recognition of distress and impairment caused by the disorder, a realization that most narcissists don't have. But Dr. Ramani, a leading expert on narcissism, says that the number of people that exhibit noticeable narcissistic patterns is way higher, more like 15 to 25%. So let's go back to that holiday gathering, because once upon a time, I found myself in this exact scenario, and I completely failed to spot the narcissist. So I want to walk you through my point of view at the time, the clues that I missed, and explain why I missed them. My first mistake happened within the first 60 seconds. I wasn't looking for a narcissist. According to the stats, out of a group of 25 people, you can expect 3 to 5 noticeable narcissistic patterns in the room. Knowing what I know now, I can see probably 4, but today I'm going to focus on only one of them because she's the type of narcissist that's the easiest to spot, and she's also the one who ended up being the most destructive. And this type of narcissist is everywhere. So let me set the stage, because it's easy to go through a checklist and to see the narcissist in hindsight. Instead, I want to show you the scene through my perspective at the time so you can put yourself in my shoes. And I want to see if you can spot where I went wrong and the 5 clues that I missed. As I stepped into the room, my attention was immediately drawn to a group led by a particularly charismatic woman. Looked like the popular group, kind of like a high school clique. So here's a tip. In new social settings, observe group dynamics. Are the interactions inclusive or centered around one person? This can reveal a lot about the people involved. I was drawn to the group hoping for acceptance. What I totally missed was where and how the attention was focused. This was not a group of women who were equally sharing the conversation. There was one woman talking and all eyes were on her. It was easy to slide into this group because I only had to be part of the audience. The woman at the center, she was charming, she was funny, she was entertaining, so we all just kept listening. Something to remember is to notice how people engage in conversation. Is there a balance, or does one person dominate? Narcissists often seek the spotlight and stop others from speaking. This is where I missed another crucial clue. I didn't notice that something was off. I was focused on the woman's entertaining stories rather than noticing that she was dominating the conversation. I was relieved to be passively in her audience rather than recognizing the red flag. I was so focused on fitting in, so I overlooked the imbalance of power. The key point to remember is in group interactions, watch if the conversation is balanced. Is everyone participating, or is one person monopolizing the stage? This could be a sign of narcissism. Despite being the new person in the room, she barely acknowledged me. I initially brushed this off. I didn't feel like it was my place to try to insist that I have the right to be acknowledged. At this point, I was just happy to be a member of her audience. And then when she finally did notice me, it felt so good, like something special had happened and that maybe she wanted to get to know me. But as quickly as that acknowledgement happened, it was over. And here's where I slipped. I confused that fleeting attention for genuine interest. It's easy to miss this when you're feeling insecure. She wasn't just ignoring me, she was dominating, cutting off anyone who tried to speak up, anyone else who tried to speak at all. She talked over them. She extended her arms like out in front of people to silence them with her body language. She spoke faster and louder, becoming more animated, demanding even more attention. And then she'd lean in front of the woman who tried to speak and physically dominated the space. This is a classic red flag. A narcissist needs to be the center of attention and can be really dismissive and even rude to others. And here's what I didn't see. I didn't see her constant need for admiration, her self-centered storytelling, or her subtle put-downs. I wasn't taking note of how often she talked over others because I was just enthralled with her stories. I didn't even notice that she required you to sit quietly and admire her because I wasn't about to insert myself in the conversation. Instead of checking for the balance of power, I was happy to abdicate my power over to her. I didn't notice how often she was fishing for compliments because we were all more than willing to hand them over. So why didn't I see these clues? Well, when you're coming from a disempowered place or an insecure place like I was, you're going to miss these crucial clues. My tendency was to be overly open, overly agreeable, especially when meeting new people. In the moment, I made mental excuses for not being acknowledged. Instead of seeing it as rude or problematic, I minimized and justified her behavior. And instead of seeing my overly thrilled response to finally being spoken to as a symptom of my personal struggle with self-worth, I saw her attention as validation of my worth. Her tiny crumb of acknowledgement made me feel seen, gave me a little hit of importance, a fleeting moment of, oh, she likes me. So what were the clues that I missed? She was charming. Charm is a red flag because there's always an element of con behind someone who's charming. This is the quickest clue to spot with this type of narcissist. If you're at a party and someone is slick, charming, or charismatic, this is when you run. These types of people are exceptionally engaging and likable at first meetings, and they use their charm and charisma to manipulate and draw people in. And I have fallen for that way too many times. She showed an excessive need for control and dominance in the way that she spoke over others and the way that she demanded control of the small audience, even in the way that she ignored and pretended I wasn't there and then offered me a little attention before disregarding me again. I instinctively felt this, but I didn't recognize what it was. Instead, I focused on needing her approval to be accepted into the family, but I didn't recognize that she was the grand narcissist in the middle of the family dysfunction, exerting her need for dominance over everyone. And I, like a moth to the flame, was drawn right to her. She had an excessive need for admiration and validation, which showed up in fishing for compliments and making a big display of her hardships and her accomplishments. I missed this because I genuinely thought she deserved admiration and validation. I was also caught up in my own internal drama of wanting to be validated myself and included, and I missed so many obvious clues. She lacked empathy, and this is historically where I've made my biggest mistakes because I tend to project empathy where there is none. In my mind, I can't imagine a woman who wants to ignore a new family member, and I can't imagine a woman who wants to dismiss someone who's being friendly because I'm genuinely empathetic, and I always just imagine that people around me are empathetic. But the truth is, I'd never treat someone the way she treated me. So even though this video is about spotting narcissists early, it wasn't until I actually recovered from narcissistic abuse from my past that I could finally start spotting the narcissist quicker. When you're still trapped in a narcissistic relationship or you're trying to recover from the devastating harm they've caused you, you first need to heal. In this video, I share the 3-step method that I've used to help thousands of people take back their lives, find their voice, and build self-worth so that they not only protect themselves from narcissists, but actually actively repel them. And the greatest part about this tool is that you already use it. You just need to apply it in a different way.